a good 60 or 70% of the workforce used to be spent in just the operational part of the work. Only 30% was being spent on the actual innovation part. Right now, that has shifted back to say 97% and 3%. We had come to a place where I really saw that my most valuable team is essentially doing, you can call it grunt work. They were for the smallest change in a config. There used to have to be an overnight release. There would have to be a lot of debugging that happens afterwards. And the team was just getting tired and frustrated doing change management. FinBox liberated them, and they are happier for it, and of course we are happier for it. It's been one of the easier build versus buy decisions for us. So to explain why Sentinel, let me tell you what we've been doing for the last say 7.5 years. We've been working with Sentinel for the past few months. This credit policy, to understand, is an ever-evolving beast. We started with a credit policy which was probably 8 business rules back in 2016. Right now, our business rule engine has about 320 odd rules. And one of the best analogies is think of it as a process where there's literally layers upon layers upon layers built. There are some of the policies that were written back in 2016. Some of the policies were written 3 years ago. Now the challenge with this is that there have been lots of people who've developed it. There is lots of code in it. There's lots of logics in it. There are lots of, you can say, fail-safe safeguards, code that was written just to ensure that certain violations don't happen. Unfortunately, this is the most critical part of our infrastructure, and this is also where we don't have any good transparency. Whenever someone needs to make a change, you literally need a subject matter expert who understands how this entire monstrosity works to be able to make the smallest change. And a smallest mistake can literally cost the company crores of rupees. A bad policy going live for one day could result in a loss of crores of rupees. What we wanted to do is ensure that this entire piece is visualizable, it's debuggable, it's also synthesizable. We can understand, business stakeholders, the underwriting team should be able to see what's actually going on a real-time basis. And when we started taking a look at Sentinel, that is exactly the feeling we got, that this allows us to support all the complexity that we require from a credit decision process, but also bring in visibility because it's a no-code, low-code platform. We are able to see what's happening in our policy. A business owner who doesn't know coding is able to look at it, and they are also able to debug logical flaws in our credit underwriting policy, and that's essentially the largest problem that Sentinel solved for us. We love the fact that we can do back testing on older data of customers with the policy that we're going to launch next week, and be prepared beforehand. Let me answer those roles with the 2 roles that I play. As a CTO, what I really loved about Sentinel is that the product on day 1 was ready to solve the complexity that we already had. Our credit underwriting engine is doing a bunch of API calls to SageMaker models to do credit decisioning based on a rich context of customers' data with about 150-160 features in it. Then we have a bunch of literally hard-coded logic tables that if X do Y, if A do B. Then we have some literally, you can say, bandage kind of code. This is just sloppily put together logic because we didn't know how to solve the problems. We just put some random logic block there to solve the problem. What I loved about Sentinel is it looked like a product that was built after someone had already spoken to my team to understand how we've built our credit engine, and I could visualize that whatever we built right now will be easily transportable to FinBox without losing even the slightest bit of richness that exists in our current credit engine. So at a technical level, I was impressed. What I thought was a very messy piece of my tech stack would become a very manageable piece. As a founder, as a business person, what I loved about Sentinel is that I will be able to spot what's going on in my ecosystem literally at an hourly basis. I can go to Sentinel at any point of time and see where the drop-offs are happening. If I think there was a case that was incorrectly rejected, I can literally debug it in a very easy to use fashion, instead of having to call up my engineering team and figure out that take this case number and tell me why it got rejected when everything about the case looks right. I can do that at a click of a button without having to involve anyone from the engineering or the product team. Is actually just very liberating. It allows you to take a lot of the time away from the back and forth process to debug, to be able to understand what the problem was and make the changes very quickly. It has liberated the credit team from testing out. It's just brought a lot of innovation back. A good 60 or 70% of the workforce used to be spent in just the operational part of the work. Only 30% was being spent on the actual innovation part. Right now that has shifted back to say 97% and 3%, and which is what I love as a business owner. And the other thing you have to understand is the data scientists and the engineering team that works on segmentation are also the most valuable resources of the company. Just imagine being able to free up 70% of your most valuable resources to do to do what is actually the core of what we do. When I first met the FinBox team, one of the first things I started off with was by telling them that, guys, we are generally a company that love to build. We've actually built our LMS that nobody in the world builds. We built it ourselves because we wanted the level of flexibility. We've built a very complex credit engine ourselves from the ground up without ever going to a BRE before running into the FinBox team. Our entire tech stack is actually custom developed in-house. I take pride in that, not because it's an engineering feat, but because it allows the business teams a lot of granular control on what the customer experience ends up being. But with FinBox, we had come to a place where I really saw that my most valuable team is essentially doing, you can call it grunt work. They were, for the smallest change in a config, there used to have to be an overnight release. There would have to be a lot of debugging that happens afterwards, and the team was just getting tired and frustrated doing change management. FinBox liberated them, and they are happier for it, and of course we are happier for it. What it allows us to do is able to iterate faster. If we see that a lot of customers are dropping off because of XYZ reasons, we are able to fine-tune and tweak our policy very quickly. We are able to identify that, this policy doesn't work because it's turning good customers away, or this policy is flawed because it's letting bad customers in, and hence the overall experience of the customer base gets diminished. We are able to experiment a lot faster. We are able to launch newer products faster. Just to give you a sense, one of the most in-demand products for our customers has been this product called Loan Against Property, which is a secured product for us. In almost any other universe, I would have predicted that it would take us about 3 months to go live with the entire product end to end. A large part of the 3 months was dedicated to building a customized credit engine for LAP. We actually launched that project 1.5 months ahead of schedule just because we launched it on FinBox instead of building it in-house. And that's the level of customer experience that, for the customers it makes a difference, because they're getting faster access to products. They're getting access to better offers or better interest rates because we are able to react much faster. It's been one of the easier build versus buy decisions for us. Yes, if you look at our flow, the policy flow on FinBox, you'll be amazed. It's actually incredibly detailed. We've pushed some of the technical limits that the FinBox team had put. I literally was discussing with someone that we have the maximum number of nodes in the Sentinel product compared to the next biggest customer of yours by like an order of magnitude. Because we believe in that. We believe that you need to have richness in your customer decision engine. If there is lots and lots of data, it has to be parsed and chopped in different ways. And again, the intention is to extract maximum value out of this data of the customer. So we have lots and lots of decision points. We are almost trying to fit the customer to the closest possible match that we can do for the customer. So it's incredibly personalized. We create a large number of segments based on what we call the probability of default. Then it's cross-tabbed with the demographic data, it's cross-tabbed with the bureau data, then it's cross-tabbed with the digital footprint richness. So you have a very large number of combinations for your segments of sorts. And we love that we can express that richness in FinBox. Let me talk about the journey orchestration piece, right? So we originally got FinBox to purely solve the underwriting problem. We had this problem of saying that, oh, there is all the data is here. We now need to decide for the customer. So let's put all the data into a FinBox. Let's build the journey. And at the end, FinBox will say yes or no. And if yes, what's the offer? That's what we started with. And that's the problem we wanted to solve for. But what happened is when we gave this tool to the product team and to the data science team, they said that, oh guys, it's this easy to do it. Why don't we take a lot of the issues that we have with the current infrastructure and also solve them together, because we've gotten a handle on how easy is it to do that. And that is precisely what happened. When the product team and the data science team saw that, we had two big issues. We had one big issue that our entire decisioning was a monolithic block. Data goes in and a decision comes out. But they said that why don't we break into much smaller chunks? At every step of the journey for the customer, now we can do what you can say localized decisioning, that based on the 5 data points the customer gave on this screen, let's decide what's the next step. Based on the 5 data points the customer gave on the screen after that, let's decide where the customer goes. Because of that, we were able to also improve customer experience by a great deal, because we can reject the customers early on. Customer doesn't have to fill up 5 pages of data to know that, oh, I got rejected because of the data I gave on the first page. And that is something that was again just literally an aha moment for the team, because they started using it. They said, oh, it's this easy, so why don't we also do X, Y, and Z. The benefit is almost on every page we are hitting different API. There is the API to go and get an SDL PAN for the customer. There's an API to do a CKYC search and download. There's an API to do a bureau pull. Each of these are priced anywhere between 50 paisa and 10 rupees. You're talking about millions of customers. By rejecting customers faster, the ones who would have not been eligible, you essentially save the downstream cost. You don't hit a 7 rupee CIBIL API if the customer is going to fail your 50 paisa PAN check, for example. And that is what we've also been able to achieve. Because of a rigidity of a lot of legacy systems, legacy policies that organizations run with, it's not that easy to do. It comes very naturally to modern fintech players like us. But I have seen some of the home loan policies of banks. It's like literally 3 slabs. And that's essentially you trying to say that, oh, I'm going to bucket the entire of India into 3 buckets. Whereas India is a lot more rich and diverse than that. That's essentially when you need risk-based pricing, and you don't need it to be as extreme as say ours, where literally the permutation and combinations will be literally in the tens of thousands of different micro segments of customers. But you need to be able to do a much better job of being granular in your risk-based pricing. You doing that helps you do 2 things. It creates a virtuous loop of you being able to select higher quality customers all the time, because your organization will be known of offering the most competitive prices for the relevant set of customers, and at the same time your actual defaults will turn out to be lower, because you were able to risk differentiate, you were able to price the riskier customers appropriately, so you end up losing lesser amounts of money. And for us it's absolute no-brainer that everyone should be doing risk-based pricing to the best of their abilities. The way we are using Sentinel, we are using it for 2 distinct pieces in underwriting. One is what we call underwriting, a go no-go decision to decide whether or not the customer should be given a loan to begin with or not. And this is a very binary decision. Very large part of this data flows into essentially our offer engine as well. But the offer engine determines what exact offer to give to the customer, the maximum allowed loan amount, the maximum allowed tenure, and the interest rate that we want to charge the customer, and of course the processing fees that we'll charge the customer. Now this offer engine is you can think of it as an end-by-end matrix, where you are able to take the data of the customer, convert them into what we call features to identify the bracket of customer, and then give them the best possible offer. We are already doing that with FinBox. We are using the canary releases of our rule engine, and what we are able to do is the policy that we want to take live, we are able to take it live for a smaller set of customers and see how it plays out. Now this feature has relieved a lot of the pressure that goes on in the engineering teams and the product teams and the credit teams whenever you're doing a new release of a model, and it just the worry that if we put the wrong model into production, we might either end up rejecting 20,000 good customers, or we will end up approving 20 crores worth of bad loans. That's a big worry that the team lives with. And with canary releases, what we are able to do is we are able to do that with a lot of confidence. Now when we take our productions, the models to production, we do it only for 5% of our customers. Allows us to uncover a whole world of information. We know whether the model is performing as well as it is supposed to, whether it is playing out the way we expect to. A lot of the times you don't want to chase an additional 0.5% delta in your default rates at the cost of 50% of your funnel, and we are able to get that insight, and that allows us to launch it with so much of confidence that allows a lot of teams to sleep better. Earlier model releases used to be these overnighter events where someone would deploy it at 11 o'clock, keep monitoring until 3 o'clock, sign off, wake up again in the morning at 7 o'clock and see that the funnel is behaving the way we expect to. Now we don't need to do that anymore. We're able to do it with a lot more ease, a lot more confidence, and that has been a game changer for us. It's been very useful, because what it allows you to do is also have like a safety net. So what we've done is we've kept alerts, both ceilings and floors, on some of the most commonly tracked parameters, whether it's the approval rate on a day-by-day basis, how many incidents of fraud are rationalized as a number. We are also trying to see what's the average ticket size and all of that. We expect most of these to follow a defined pattern. Whenever something is off, it usually has a larger underlying cause. It could be either a fraud is happening in a certain territory, or it's a change in the macroeconomics also. That's also slightly worrisome. We don't want to be on top of it. Monitors allows us to set all of those on sort of autopilot and get alerted when something is not going right. So you can call it as a safety net for us. Again, as a business user, it's very liberating that I don't have to have a team go and say that, oh, analyze those parameters every 7 days. That there's someone who's doing it constantly all the time for me. And again, the ease with which I can set them up actually make them a lot more usable. I'd hesitate to tell my team to add 3 more parameters to the list that they want to track every day, versus just spending 15 minutes to set them up in Sentinel, and then I reap rewards for the rest of the time.